Looks like we're back, Arctic, from our break. Continuing on to match 3. To those challengers who are just viewing in right now, note that we have completed our first 2 matches with Brent Esports and CG. Moving on to the semifinals.
Yes, and in case baka our viewers might be wondering why, hey, how come the breaks are a little bit longer in between? But technically because aside from these 2-0s, these games have been pretty dominating.
Dominating indeed. It's not just from, let's say, CG with that impressive performance coming into game 2, and game 1 was slow paced, but match 1, Arctic, that was exciting. I would say it was a complete fiesta.
Yep.
It was action-packed all across the map. We see clashes after clashes. But right now, moving on to our match 3, if you look at our schedule right now, we will be actually facing off against our 3rd match over all the 4 matches we have in store for you today on Sunday.
Yeah, it's going to be the 3rd match right now. Very interesting. And we'll head straight into the drafting phase. Once again, this is WIL New Era versus AllyFoodS.
Oh, WIL New Era versus AllyFoodS. What a nice name there, Arctic. And now, opening bans would be the Violet and the Murad being removed. In a way, I was actually having a fun time looking at Murad, using the temporal turbulence to go in and out of the fight, the invisibility frame. That is so annoying. So I guess teams will not deal with that. But Arctic, we're seeing Jugnar now being played here.
Finally, I mean,
being banned all the time.
Being banned all the time. And I guess we are seeing it because if we're going to look at the bans, Violet as well as Murad taken away. Probably not just because these are meta picks at the top tier as of the current match, but still, there you go. A lot of open picks here.
I mean, was it wise for WIL New Era to go in and just ban out the Violet, which is still a respectable ban, also the Murad, but leaving open a lot of high tier picks?
Yeah, a lot of picks indeed, Vulcan. But probably one of the reasons why I guess they did prioritize Violet as well as the Murad, I mean, I've mentioned earlier how close-knit the community is, so I think this is something that both sides have just scouted out as prime heroes that both sides can use, that they don't want to face off under any circumstances, knowing how potentially efficient a certain player is at using these heroes.
Looks like we won't see the pair from Lubu and Malak. We used to see these heroes a lot paired up together, but now it will be Malak and Alice going towards WIL New Era. So, for the last pick of AllyFoodS, we'll be picking up the Slim.
Interesting. So let's go ahead and check out what we do have here. So I think, again, we're going to be seeing the double marksman coming in this time from AllyFoodS. Pretty decent protection as well through the Senial as well as the Lumber. And Lulu for supplementary damage as well as just a strong fighter as well. Meanwhile, looking at the side here for WIL New Era, definitely a little bit more on the balance side. We are seeing a double form of support in the form of the Alice as well as the Chognar. Chognar is a little bit more interesting though because what he brings to the table isn't necessarily the tankiness. He's a little bit more of a unique tank because you get him as a support for his utility more so than his tankiness, and he has some pretty good base damage as well with what he deals, which is why he's pretty all around in a way. So I'm wondering how this is going to pan out for WIL New Era, just with the overall composition that they have. We have seen in previous matches how let's see, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm trying to think of a better word than annoying, but it is annoying to deal with when you're dealing with double support because of all utility.
It's a nuisance.
There you go. That's
a nuisance. So for Jongnar, I have to agree with you. The fact that he is so tanky each time with his passive, I mean, each time you cast a skill, and the fact that you really cannot lock a Jongnar down, that's something that really explains why he has been banned out all throughout our first 4 games or 2 matches. So I think for our challengers, we'll be now loading up to the Artanis battlefield. Let's see which team will get the momentum in our game 1.
Yeah, this is going to be massive here. And speaking of this Chognar pick, I mean, since this is the first time that we'll be spotting him here in the Valor Cup, one of the reasons why he's such a strong pick,
the Void Cleanse.
Yes, exactly. Just being able to clear off all crowd control effects. Not just that, but also through the Chaos Protection. So
Alice gets to connect the stun onto Lumber, but I think it's better to see all that action, all the execution, because we're seeing right now Jognar in the mid lane. Note that not just from the fact that he cannot be locked down, the ridiculously low cooldown on his skill 1 is just ridiculous. The wave clear is there. So now, we're looking at the composition of AllyFoodS. They're all about momentum, going in and out of the fight, roaming around the map. We're seeing a lot of proactiveness from the teams here. I mean, look at the map right here. It's all about roaming.
Interesting though, looking at this mid lane, we are seeing both tanky supports, both the Chognar as well as the Lumber, kind of linger towards this mid lane, being sent right there.
Right?
Yeah. So interesting. How that dynamic works out.
Oh, Valor trading things off with the Lubu. Low on health. He did take one tower hit. What is this? First blood, a solo kill. Oh my god, Art. I mean, he overcommitted to that tower, gets one tick of a hit. Immediately, he regrets his decision.
Yeah, that's the tricky part right there with that Lubu. I mean, in that matchup, it was basically...
look at that. Sorry about that, Artie, but Zenial went in and interrupt your talk because 3 members are spotted in the top lane. So now Alice, a bit late to the party, gets the stun onto the Zenial, but now the 3 members of AllyFoodS.
It's very dangerous
pushing
though.
in hard. 1 minion is left. Looks like Lumber will be trading into hits here. Zenial goes in with the knockup. Really, 3 members diving in. Alice was still very faithful to the tower, but in the end, he will be taken down. So now, Jungnar, we see in action here a lot of damages so far. Looks like Lumber is backing up. In a way, Lumber is a solid pick, Arthur.
Yeah.
Overall, it can adapt quickly.
Indeed, I'd have to agree with you there, Vulcan. And with that adaptability, I mean, we did see just how proficient it was. So we're leading up to that dive onto that Alice. I feel like maybe the Alice was buying time in that instance for the rest of WIL New Era to position themselves for the response a little bit in too late though, and they did try to go for that Slims, but that's the tricky part when you are going up against a Slims though. Quite the slippery target.
And this Malak, we saw that first blood kill, solo kill, because it's all about his playstyle. Hit and run, ridiculous true damage, Arctic. I mean, it just goes to show, you gotta respect that true damage, and Lubu being in a way an off-tank, one of the bruisers we see in AOV. So he did not see that coming. Also the fact that he overextended, getting 1 tower hit.
Indeed, and that's just the tricky thing here for WIL New Era if they want to try to go for targets here from the side of AllyFoodS. And, well, I guess Slim's probably not the best target you want to go for unless you could get a CC lockdown on him, because he's just going to use Leap of Vitality to just escape whatever engages WIL New Era tries to push onto him. If anything, probably one of the more substantial targets would probably be Joker. We've been talking about him quite a bit as of this quarterfinals recently because of how delicate he is as a marksman amidst once he does scale.
Oh,
despite
scaling looks like it will be Zephyr securing the Abyssal Dragon. Now the fight will go on. Malak comes in with a knockup, but right now we're seeing Lubo with a red style and doing the CC works here, but in the end, it will not be enough. And the members of WIL New Era are now trying to turn the fight around here, picking up one member after another. Now it will be a fight they have lost. They tried to contest the Abyssal Dragon, in the end, paid a hefty price.
Yeah, that was tricky right there. I like the idea Nekosama was trying to go for by going for Rubik's.
Look at that. Zephyr. I gotta hand it to the mobility with his death from above. They really need to be aware when they face check those hidden rushes. So, as I can see right now for AllyFoodS, at a kill score deficit 5-2.
Indeed. Man, let's go ahead and see how this ultimately goes down though. Meanwhile, I mean, WIL Era, they're really starting to build up. I think AllyFoodS, well, in all fairness, what kind of went wrong in that more recent clash was the numbers. Generally, wasn't quite working in AllyFoodS' favor right there in terms of that. So far, good build up here by WIL New Era. Not really that far in yet. They still have to really start building up the momentum just to not allow Beef to transition into the later parts of this game.
Man, Lumber has to be very careful with his Rampage. I mean, just going over those walls without any proper protection, that would be a risk for AllyFoodS. But as of now, looks like a face check did happen. Chugnar sees Lumber. Looks like we are seeing 3 members of AllyFoodS converging to the mid lane, perhaps.
Anyways, like it did.
It might be a brawl, Arctic. We're seeing.
Gonna be?
They don't know that Miggy is here. That's gonna be the Zephyrs going in with his launch, and there is the ultimate for the engager right onto the flames. That's going to be a very easy pickup for Will New Era. Now Luba goes in with engage the wrist down. There's a knockoff for the last stack. Here it comes, Mickey trying to get away with his mobility. Zeph is very low on health. That'll be the shield. That'll be Lumber's pass. Chognar with the damage reduction, but will it be enough? No, it's not. And Malik goes in with a 3-man knockoff. We see Alice trying to support his. We're trying to see, or he did see that Alice was going for the stun there, but kind of missed. So for, I would say, Malik, he's a bit overcommitted to this fight. He has a lot of damage thanks to the true damage.
Yeah, that was a little bit into early of a commitment coming in from Will New Era. In the event of that, they expended a lot right from the get-go, and as that fight went along, it allowed AllyFoodS to just kind of balance things out, though still it is tilting towards Will New Era. So AllyFoodS, we're yet to see a play that actually leads them to something much more substantial as far as bringing them back equal on the playing field.
You know what? I really love the pickup from AllyFoodS, what they did and the Abyssal Dragon, but we might see it again here. Oh, what's this? We are starting it off. They know that the Lumber is hidden, so this could be AllyFoodS going for the contest. Oh, Malak going in there, but Lumber with a 3-man knockup. Looks like the contest will not happen. It'll be making securing the Abyssal Dragon.
And man, we're really starting to see once again just how proficient it is to have this double support on your side for Will New Era. Just have Alice for those boosts up. If ever things do get Ari with AllyFoodS engaging onto Will New Era, just disengage through the Chognar, get rid of the crowd control.
I love the interaction with the Lumber going over the wall, space checking, but you know, I think he knows the man that the Alice is there, spotted things there. And not just that, we're seeing AllyFoodS. They're more about poking. They have the Joker and the Slims, and now it's more about pickups. They can go for his pickups, but look at Zephyr is committing to that fight. Zeniel is here for the heal, but will it be enough for AllyFoodS to go in for the dive? Oh, Lubo goes in deep. He just gets killed by Ares. Looks like Malak will be zoning out 2 members of AllyFoodS, but Zeniel leaps away, safe under the tower, but no, that will be Zephyr's diving in!
Wow, that was insane, and at the end of the day, that was a 1-for-4 again in favor of Will New Era. Unfortunately, again, in that fight, the benefit of having the Alice and the Chognar making good work of that, it took AllyFoodS quite a bit of a while to try to chase down Rubik's, and it's because of the utility that Rubik's in Gambit had, that speed up coming from the Alice, plus Chognar commanding that fight right there, keeping the members of AllyFoodS at bay, giving enough time for the members of Will New Era to make that response.
You saw how the fight went in complete favor of Will New Era as soon as the protection has come from AllyFoodS. When they close into the gap, that is trouble for AllyFoodS. They need to respect the Zephys and not just let the Malak with the re-engage. They have the Juggernaut for the wave clear. Here it comes, a fight in the middle. If they die here, that's going to be a huge loss. They may lose the game here, or 2 towers. Now we are seeing a double kill onto the Zephys. Now the tower remains. Look at Zainal trying his best with the knockoff, but in the end the members will get aced in the mid lane.
Ooh, that is
just a huge blow.
That was a great collapse coming in from Will New Era, and it's no surprise, mega kill right there. I think this is the first mega kill that we are seeing here in the quarterfinals, and this could very well potentially be the finish. Beef is up right now. Looks like Will New Era will have to back away, but that's what I'm talking about right there. Will New Era, they have the confidence to start those fights now. They could just go all in because of not only the kits that they have with this composition, but because of the lead that they have, 15-4, not to mention nearing a 10k gold deficit.
Okay, they go for the Spirit Sentinel. They know that the mid lane has been wrecked, completely wrecked. I mean, get aced, you will lose those 2 towers. So for AllyFoodS, again, they're all about, they have the Joker, a very delicate hero, not just at the slims for the poke damage, but once Will New Era goes in, or they have not much of a layer of protection. They can only call on Zenial, but Zenial can do so much. Just the heal could be enough, but they don't have that decent frontliner. It should have been Lubu, but he got solo killed in the bot lane, giving that first blood to the Malak, which immediately ruins his tankiness. He could not get the proper items here.
And I think the tricky part here is that whenever AllyFoodS does try to go on to Will New Era, the first thing that they usually have to deal with is the Chognar in the front line, and it takes so much for AllyFoodS to deal with that. And we do know that Chognar, he could easily spam the energy surge in those fights, and with how this game has been going along, complement that with the Shockwave, which constantly reduces the cooldown of energy surge, makes for a tricky fight here for AllyFoodS.
And not just that, the chaos protection, Arthur, you need to really respect that. If you have the Zenial, okay, you can get the Zenial, but we think Jungnar is a much better support champion than a Zenial.
It's interesting because
It's like this. You can picture yourself. It's a scenario where would you heal your ally who are really badly hurt? I mean, really damaged down, really low in health, or would you rather protect your allies from going to that health point? That's the Jungler right there.
and it's interesting because whatever initial damage that the signal did heal up within the earlier phases, it's mostly caused from this frontline people that it's such a shame because it's not being able, they're not able to use the heal from what damage is taken from the carries as opposed to what's just coming in from the front line.
The slow from the energy surge is just setting up kills one after another, and right now things are looking pretty dire for AllyFoodS. Here it comes to engage. Chaos Protection plus the Malik going in under the tower. That's going to be another ace of our game in match 3.
Yes, and I think this is going to be the finish Vulcan right here. Will Era, they're going to go straight for the finish. So, ladies and gents, with the score ultimately ending in a 25, congratulations.
What a stomp, Arctic. I mean, Will Era really showing the guns here with a genre, not to mention the Malik engages. This will be the game 1 going to Will Era, but this is not yet over. It is a best of 3 series.
Yes, still quite a bit, but wow, what a demonstration coming in from Will Era right there. I mean, I think that's the tricky part and a good demonstration as to why we are seeing the Chognar ban quite
almost all the time. This is the
it's the first time I think it went through.
First time I actually saw it in action in our quarterfinals, but on to the battle stats. Arctic, here's the summary for our challengers. Curious on what happened across the game.
Yeah, no surprise here. Meggy gonna be the clear MVP, not just because of it was basically a team effort. This is what I've been talking about right here. By having that dual support, you're able to complement your carry so much, and it just allowed Meggy to weave around the enemy team here and really provided great play overall. And I think even with the CNL power pick coming in from the red side, just wasn't enough to transition to the later parts.
You saw the Lubu really heartbreaking KDA because he could not build his item. He only had 2 items where they needed a front layer. They needed Lubu to really tank some damage for him. He has the ultimate to even do that, but it's just about regeneration. But if you cannot regenerate more than you're being dealt to, you'll be just chalked out, and we saw that in our first game. But Arctic, things look really dire, yes, for AllyFoodS, but again, this is our best of 3 series, so our challengers will be back after a short break to continue on our match 3. We have been the Shoutcasters. My name is Vulcan. With me was Arctic. See you after the short break for the continuation of the quarterfinals.